Om Shanti everyone, good morning. So we were reading the Murli from November 30th of 1992, where Baba was talking about the treasures, different types of treasures, and how do we experience what's the sign of attaining the treasure. So Baba was highlighting the treasures of Gyan, Yog, Dharana, Seva. Through Gyan, we get Mukti, Jivan Mukti, and with Yoga, we get powers. And with dharana, we get all the virtues. And with seva, we receive all the blessings. And through connections and relations, so we um, sorry, through seva, we get the treasure of happiness. And through connections and relationships, we receive the treasures of blessings. So when we attain all of these treasures, there is a sparkle on the face, there is a sense of contentment. So Baba was highlighting our vritti, our drishti, our actions are all transformed. And with the power of blessings, we become obstacle proof. You become yog yukt, yukti yukt. And Baba is highlighting, uh, bring our attention to the treasure of the time of confluence age. So, so we'll go a little deeper into this. Baba says, in fact, there are many treasures, but when you simply imbibe in yourself the power to accumulate, power to accommodate the treasures you have just been told about, then because of being constantly full, there will not be the slightest fluctuation. So Baba is highlighting so the the aspect of sampanna and sampurna. So when there is a fullness, there is full of all virtues, all the treasures. There is stability, like an empty pot. It won't be wobbly, and it will be very stable, and there won't be any fluctuations. There is fluctuation when there is something is empty. A soul who is full will never fluctuate. So check whether all these treasures are merged within you. Are you full of these treasures? Or is it that you are full of some treasures and that you have to become full of others? All of you have received the treasures, have you not? All of you have received the same treasures from the one. They have not been distributed individually, have they? It isn't that someone is given 100,000 and someone else is given million, is it? It is one thing to receive wealth, to take the wealth that one receives, but there are those who just take. So here Baba highlights on the three types on uh, on how much we accumulate. So one is those who take, they take whatever they receive it, finish it by just eating, drinking, and enjoying themselves with it. They take it, they use it up. Other are those who accumulate the treasures they receive. They eat it, drink it, enjoy it themselves with them, and also accumulate. There are the third type. Third type is those who do both. They eat, drink, enjoy themselves. They also continue to increase the treasure they receive. They make Baba's treasures their treasures and increase them even more. So check, who am I? The first, second number, or the third number? Right? So the one is The third one is those enjoy, they also continue to increase the treasures they receive. They make Baba's treasures their treasures and increase them even more. So check, who am I? So Baba is bringing our attention on how to increase it. The more you use the treasures for the self and for the service of the others, the more the treasures increase. The key for increasing the treasures is to use them. First for the self. If each and every jewel of knowledge is used for the self at the right time, then by using this treasure, you become experienced. The attainment of the treasure become an authority of experience in life. So one is accumulating, other one is increasing by using the treasures for the self and for the service of the others. So more we use it, and that to use it at the right time, the right treasure, right power, right virtue at the right time. Then by using the treasure at the right time, we start experiencing, attainment of experience. So the power of experience leads to the power of authority. The treasure becomes an authority that comes based on the experience. So you accumulate the treasure of authority. So authority comes from experience. Experience comes from using the right power, right virtue at the right time, using it for the self, using it for the others, using it for the service. You accumulate the authority of the treasure of authority. So it has increased, has it not? Simply to listen is something else. To listen does not mean to take. To listen doesn't mean to take. To merge it within the self and use it for the task at the right time means to take. Merge it, use it at the right time, that's when you are actually taking. What do those who simply listen do? And what do those who merge it in themselves do? There's a great difference between the two. So Baba says, when Babdada sees the scene of those who simply listen, he smiles. Those who simply listen remember the points according to the situation, obstacle, or the problem. Those who simply listen remember the points according to the situation, according to the obstacle, according to the problem. Babdada has given these points to everyone to overcome this obstacle. He has to do this. We have to do this. We must not do that. They continue to repeat this and remember the points. On the one side, they continue to repeat the points, and on the other side, they are influenced. They say, we must not do this. This is not knowledge. These are not divine virtues. They have to imbibe the power to merge. We must not give sorrow to anyone. So these are the kind of thoughts that emerge in those who just listens. They continue to repeat these points and also continue to fail. And the failure is coming from staying under the influence. They continue to repeat these points and also continue to fail. If you ask them at that time whether that is right, they will reply, it is not right, but it happens. On the one hand, they are saying it, but then they also forget it. What would you call this? Those who simply listen, they enjoy listening. The point is very good and powerful. However, at the time of using that point, if that powerful point does not make you victorious, or if it only makes you semi-victorious, what would you call that? You would be called those who simply listen to it, would it not? So Baba is nicely breaking it down, what it means to just listen. What is a sign of those who are just listening? They do have the right points at the right time, but they still stay under the influence of the situation or the obstacle or the Maya. And then they say, this should not happen, that should have happened, I shouldn't have done that. But, and if there's a response, then why did you do means, it is right. But it happens. So in other words, it is not in our control. Like, and the control is on that which is influencing us. We are not free from the influence. The points are not freeing us from the influence of the situation or the problem or the Maya. On the one hand, they are saying it, but then they also forget it. What would you call this? Those who simply listen. They enjoy listening. The point is very good and powerful. However, at the time of using that point, if that powerful point does not make you victorious, or if it only makes you semi-victorious, what would you call that? You would be called those who simply listen to it, would it not? However, as soon as other situations or problems appear in front of those who merge knowledge, let's take the other case. Those who merge the knowledge. Sununa, Samajna, Samana, Swarupana. So, as soon as other situations and problems appears in front of those who merged Samalia, merged the knowledge, they stabilize themselves in the stage of being Trikaldarshi. What is Trikaldarshi stage? They are detached from the situation. They are free from the influence of the problem or the situation by being merged in Gyan Swarup. And that is a stage of Trikaldarshi. Through their own stage, they cross all external situations as though nothing has happened. This is called accommodating, that is, using it for the task at the right time. It is called making every power, every point, and every virtue work according to your orders at the right time. When people have any physical treasures, the treasures are not used by the treasures themselves, but they are used by human souls. They can use the treasures when they want, as much as they want, and as they want. In the same way, who are the masters of all the treasures you were just told about? Is it you or someone else? You are the masters, are you not? So, what is the task of a master? Should the treasures control him, or should he control the treasures? So, be a master of every treasure and be Jnani. So now Baba added one more thing. Be Jnani. Jnani Atma. So now Baba is redefining that second person who has merged knowledge as a Jnani Atma. So be a master of every treasure and be a Jnani. That is sensible, knowledgeful, and Trikaldarshi at the right time. and use the treasures in your task. It should not be that you order the power of tolerance when you want it, but it appears when the task is finished. The power of accommodation should carry out its task at the time it is needed, according to the right method. It should not be that you merged everything within, but even then, something emerged through your lips. Should not be that you merged everything within, but even then, something emerged through your lips. That you merged everything for half an hour, but for 1 second, instead of merging everything, you said something. What would you call that? Is it being a master or a slave of the treasures? So here Baba is bringing your attention to the deeper aspects. So Baba is talking about the Gyan itself. If those who is Gyani, those who enjoys listening and those who have merged Gyan in themselves. And Baba is giving a contrast between these two souls. Those who just listen, they enjoy listening, they acknowledge it is powerful. And when the problem and the situation comes, the points emerge, but they keep saying, I must not do this. This is not knowledge. These are not divine virtues. And we have to imbibe the power to merge. We must not give sorrow to anyone. They will be saying all of this like affirmations, but nothing happens. They are still under the influence. It is not right, but it happens, which means they're still under the influence. And then Baba brings our attention to who is in charge, right? And Baba says, whoever is in charge is going to make you victorious over the problem or the situation or lose the battle. So Baba is highlighting here every virtue works according to your order at the right time. Every power, every point, every virtue, make it work according to your orders at the right time. And Baba is giving a contrast of physical treasures and then the spiritual treasures. Do we have that much control on the spiritual treasures as much control that we have on the physical treasures? And Baba redefines Gyan now. Gyani soul is one who is the master of every treasure, every spiritual power, spiritual treasure. That is, they are sensible, knowledgeful, and Trikaldarshi at the right time. So Trikaldarshi is a new concept that Baba brought into this whole concept. Trikaldarshi helps us to be detached. Trikaldarshi helps us to free ourselves from the influence of the situation and problem. And Baba says, when I am free from that influence, then I am Trikaldarshi. I am in that stage of Trikaldarshi. That makes me knowledgeful. Knowledgeful is not just having the points, but knowledgeful is that power of knowledge is keeping me safe, so keeping me free from the influence of the problem or the situation. There is no anxiety, there is no worry, there is no concern. So I'm not going up and down. I'm not under the influence of the problem at all. There is no effect of anything that's happening there on me. So that Baba is defining as knowledgeful. And they're also sensible because they're in a very deep and subtle stage. They can sense Maya, they can sense abstract things in a very obvious and tangible way. So Baba is bring our attention. It should not be that you order the power of tolerance when you want it, but it appears when the task is finished. And that is something that we observe often. And the situation has come and then passed by, and after that we realize that I should I should not have exploded or responded that way. But the power of accommodation should carry out its task at the time it is needed, according to the right method. It should not be that you merged everything within, but even then something emerged through your lips. That you merged everything for half an hour, but for 1 second, they said something and then boom, impulsive instinct has just um, made you say what you say or do what you did. Instead of merging everything, you said something. What would you call that? Is it being a master or a slave of the treasure? It's another deep aspect Baba is bringing our attention to. So let's go a little further, one more paragraph. As a right to the Father, all these powers are a treasure, an inheritance, and a birthright. The minute we say Baba, all of these virtues and powers, these powers are a treasure. These are also our inheritance, and this also have a birthright. The minute you say Baba, you have a right because you are born. So there is so much intoxication of a birthright. You're born with it. You're made up of, your DNA is made up of that thing. That is your inheritance. And the inheritance is you're born with all the treasures of Baba. So there is so much intoxication of a birthright. A little prince is not even aware of what the treasures are. Yet, when he has the slightest awareness, he has so much intoxication of being the child of the king. So, this is the intoxication of being a master. Use the treasures for a task. You do not use them enough. You remain happy that you are full. You have received everything. But you become number wise in using them and enabling the self and others to experience attainments from them. Why else would a number be created? Why is there a number when one who is giving is one? He gives the same to everyone. So Babdada saw that you have received many treasures. All of you are full, but you do not take the benefit of being full. It is just as in the Laukic world. Some know the method of taking bliss or benefit from the wealth they have, whereas others have a lot of wealth, but they do not know the method of using it. That is why, even though they have wealth, it is as though they do not have anything. So, so what do you have to underline? Do not be those who simply listen. With the method of using them, attain success now and also salvation for many births. Success now and mukti for many births. So Baba is bringing uh, taking us deeper. How come we are not making knowledge an authority? How come we are not becoming Jnani, sensible, knowledgeful, and Trikaldarshi? And Baba deeps dive into how to make it happen with the powers, with the awareness of who do I belong to, who is my father. And that opens up the intoxication and all the birthrights, using all the treasures for the task and for the self. And Baba also tied this thing to number wise. When the one who is giving is the same, but there's a difference in the receiver. And what is the difference in the receiver? And why is there number wise? And what to focus on wherever we are to go to next notch is what Baba is highlighting in this part of the segment of the Murli. So let us take few minutes to digest. The sign of Gyan is Mukti and Jivan Mukti, and being Trikaldarshi, and being sensible by being detached, free from the influence of the problem, the situation, or the Maya. With the power of awareness and power of remembrance, power of yoga, we attain the strength. We build that experience. And by doing the seva, doing God's task, we experience happiness. And in all the connections and relations, we receive blessings, we become obstacle proof. And with the power of dharna, with the power of seva, through connections and relations, we are merging all the treasures, being sensible, knowledgeful, and Trikaldarshi. Experiencing the constant success and constant progress, steady and full, and becoming the authority of experience. Om Shanti. Another beautiful segment Baba has added. What stood out for you from this Murli? What resonated from this Murli, and what did you found within yourself that Baba is highlighting in this Murli? And what changes? And how you are going to make a difference in tackling that what you have observed in within yourself. Yes, Pijat Bhai.
Yeah, Om Shanti. So we get a lot of power from Baba, all treasures, right? So it is open and we can take whatever treasure we want. So it is all inheritance and our birthright, indeed, and we can use it. Yes, I mean, we should use it. I mean, Baba says just listening, they are not really taking the complete benefit. Like Baba mentioned about the powers, how it has to be used. So there are, just the category of the one who doesn't use it right properly. So power, so they don't, that doesn't make them victorious. See, for example, Baba says the powers that we order and it has to come and it has to come at the right time and only then we become victorious, right? Even if it comes after some time, then it is not, I mean, we are not really victorious there, right? So using these powers at the right time for the right task, right? So that is also an art, right? So that is, it comes with the practice, isn't it? So I used to think in that way that it comes with the practice. See, for example, Baba mentioned about the accommodation, power to accommodate. Okay, and uh, you tolerate it for long, and at the last moment you say something, or show your old sanskara, and that then then also it does not, the power did not come into use, right? Couldn't really use that. Um, so I used to think that, these powers is something that we have to daily practice it in our day-to-day life and then see how it is coming and how we are using it. Because everyday situation will be different and Maya will bring us a different situation. I mean, the situation will keep changing and then we can try it out how I am applying this knowledge in my practical life and what result am I getting. Right, but it often happens to me that though sometimes I'm aware, okay, this is there and this is the power that I have to use. For example, tolerance power. Okay, but sometimes the situation will go to that extent where, at least in the mind, that will be broken. Maybe outwardly, but internally there will be some little agitation. Right, but that is also should not happen, right? So, yes, Harshabhai, what is your experience? How do you use these powers in your day-to-day life?
Yeah. Yeah. So in other words, so my attention was on the word influence. One is not lack of understanding, not lack of what need to be done, but being influenced by the situation. So now the question is around the influence. What is that? Who is getting influenced? So it is mostly the old sanskaras within is getting influenced by the situation. Or if I'm feeling anxious, or if I'm feeling worried, and there's a problem, when there's a challenge, when there is a situation, or or when you see there is this uh, uncontrolled uh, impulsiveness, so then as an observer you can say that, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be doing that, but something else is under the influence. So, and what is that? And that is the emotions. So when we make our emotions jnani, so one of the practices that resonated with me is one of the brother was sharing, or go behind the word. So there is this word is representing something. Hold that thing, not the word. Most of the time when we say that, oh, I am a being of peace, we hold the word peace in our mind. But what is that representing? What is that energy it is representing? When we translate that into the language of heart, there is no words for language of heart. When we translate that, it is an energy. It is something that I'm holding. So, in other words, make your heart wise, a wise heart, and a loving intellect. Loving intellect and the wise heart. So when I start making my heart wise, in other words, more emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is not just being aware that, oh, I am getting angry, but emotional intelligence is like, oh, what is that which didn't work, or which treasure, which virtue, or which power was not working at that emotional level, at the energy level, at an experiential level, that led to this disaster. The disaster is the being influenced, emotions being influenced. So when I take the practice to that emotional level and then start working at that level, so who is under the influence? Either it is our head, or either it is our awareness, lack of awareness, or it is our heart. When we are saying that this is not a right thing, so which means we are in our awareness, we are in our senses, but our heart is not in our control. So, in other words, I have to make my heart wiser. I have to make my heart aware, which means shift the energy, practice at that level. So the more I start playing there, I think I can start seeing some difference. Did I answer, Vijay bhai?
Yeah, yeah. So that is where you attain success, you're saying. So it's more of you understanding our heart, what we need it, and how to use it. Is it at the right time?
Yeah. So in other words, when Baba is using this word, that authority of experience, so authority of your heart, in other words, right? It is the authority, not of the intellect. Our intellect already got the authority because we know what is the right thing. We are emerging the right point at the right time also. There is authority of the intellect is there, but there is no authority of the heart or authority of our experience. So in other words, authority is the strength leads to authority. That strength of heart is what leads to the power, leads to the mastery. I think more we work around that, more
Okay.
we will be.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. Because that is how we also make the treasures our own, right? Because unless we
Yeah,
don't use it, it doesn't stay long with us, right? It goes off, right? Just by
that's
listening
right.
and reading, then that's not enough. But we should also learn to use it in our practical life, because this is all knowledge that Papa is giving us is to be used in our day-to-day life.
That's right. That's right. And then one of the things that comes to my mind is when we talk about memory, right? at the end of the day, when we leave, what we take. So in this Murli also Baba is telling, in the Laukiks also, when they die, they say that we come empty and then we leave empty handed, right? So
Yeah.
so here, when we die, what are we taking? So when we use the word, we take the karma. And how are we taking the karma? Karma is nothing but uh, action. When we do an action, we experience something, and based on that experience, we come to a conclusion of some conclusion, and that leads to a belief, and that is what we walk out with, right? So so the memory also, even if I look at the memory of intellectual memory will wipe out. For example, as the stress increases, as the mental health challenges increases, the memory is the first thing to go out the door. Our short-term memory will go away. All, in other words, all the Murli points that I have learned, intellectualized in the last couple of months or years, will all just get wiped out. So what comes with us is maybe long-term memory. Lot is long-term memory. Long-term memory is that I used it and then translated into an experience. And that experience stays with me. Or in other words, the memory of that experience stays with me. And
So
just
isn't
imagine.
it sanskara that we call another word, or
Again, the sanskara is more deeper, I feel, more
okay?
than intellectual knowledge. Intellectual knowledge, the minute you get Alzheimer's, the minute you get dementia, boom. Minute you have some illness of your brain, the physical thing, not even talking about mind. The minute we got hit, something happens in our wiring, in our neurons, and our network goes down the hill. So then that's it. The short-term memory wipes out. All the Murli points that we've been remembering and analyzing and comprehending, all of that thing gets wiped out. So then what comes to our rescue is whatever we converted into an experience, that experiential memory is all that is left. And that experiential memory is uh, is kind of long-term memory, right? We remember what happened when we first met first Baba's Milan. We have a very clear memory. Why? Because we have a deep experience. There is emotions etched into that first Milan. So that memory is so vivid and then part of our core memory, because there is a big part of the retention of that memory is the emotions that we experienced at that time, right? So in other
Mm.
words, when Baba says authority of experience, right? You have an authority of an experience, which means any knowledge that is converted into an experiential knowledge, experiential wisdom, that becomes an authority, or that becomes part of your long-term memory. And this long-term memory or long-term experiential wisdom, when it is put into an action again and again, when it is put into an action which is not consciously putting it in action, subconsciously our body language is working based on that. All of that actions leads to sanskara, I feel. Sanskara is not just experiential wisdom. Sanskara is much more deeper. That experiential wisdom, your subconscious mind is driven out of that experiential wisdom. Those actions leads to sanskaras. Unconsciously we've been doing in our background process, and those things leads to our sanskaras, and that thing is what we walk away with in our next birth, because everything that we registered in this physical footprint, everything will be wiped out, and what walks comes with the soul is the deep experiential some experiential actions, that unconscious actions that we have been doing, that leads to sanskaras. And of course, we start at the conscious level and then we take it little deeper. And I think here in this Murli, Baba is mainly emphasizing on that part. When Baba says, like, look, there are some souls, everyone is getting the same treasures. Some are listening, but some are using it, accumulating it, acting it. exercising it, building it, making more out of it. And when he's telling all of these things, what is that other person who is actually merging all of this thing doing? I feel he's actually doing this behind the scene. He's making it an experiential wisdom, and he's making this experiential wisdom work in his subconscious level, and then all the subconscious actions, his body language, his drishti, his vritti, everything is making it accumulate more and more unconsciously, or without any effort, effortlessly creating more fortune. Especially when we make something unconscious actions, and that goes long ways, because you don't have there is no interference with your conscious. Your prefrontal cortex does not even have to interfere. And it is unconsciously you're doing all of these actions. So we take that to that level, is what when Baba says like merge all of these treasures into you, I feel.
Yeah, thank you. So let's see if there are any other sharings from anyone
Mm.
else.
Jitna mein.
Om Shanti, brother.
Shanti.
There are many types of imperishable, timeless treasures. These treasures are never exhausted, but we have to realize the more we use them, the more they will increase. Like the treasures, virtues, spiritual powers, happiness, pure feelings, etc. So when we donate only, these treasures will increase by time. Thank you, Om Shanti.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Led by
Om Shanti, brother.
Om Shanti.
Uh, this statement of merge and emerge, it's a small change, but can make a big difference. I personally
Mm,
felt that is true sometimes. That I think it emerges in the mind at least, if not in words. But
mm,
Baba is telling us not to do even that. It's a little
mm,
difficult because, as Bhaiji also said, there's some amount of agitation that usually comes up when uh, there's a lot of service. But just before this, I had read the Sakar Murli of today here, and that
mm,
brought me up a lot more understanding as to how to implement this. You know, uh, this service also is a big thing. Not actually, the agitation in my case is because of the other person, I think, but it is also equally my responsibility to intellectualize that, to understand and bring that out in the best format so that the other person continues to be a purusharthi. So when we come into interpersonal interactions, we should make sure that the other person gets better and not gets worsened up. So
mm,
even at the mind level, we should be able to donate these treasures and virtues. So the element of service comes over there, that earns the blessings. I'm yet to discover as to how to maintain a balance between service to only one soul and keeping the yajna away. I mean, disservice to yajna or disservice to the organization. Sometimes once we think that we should be benefiting only one particular soul, we would probably doing a larger avagya.
mm,
I'm yet to identify that. It happens at workplace also. If we are benefiting only one individual, we are doing a larger disservice to the organization. So there needs to be a fine balance that needs to be developed there, and it's my journey today to discover that. Thank you.
mm. Yeah, no, that is really nice. Uh, Definitely, there is so much that we can be uh, have control on, and but definitely to fully use whatever we have control on, which is definitely on our words, our actions, how we treat, how we focus, what we say, and all of this stuff. And and then by creating that, we can definitely we can definitely make that thing happen by making effort at the subconscious level. Yeah. And then the point of individual and yagya, there definitely, I acknowledge what you mentioned, that we need to manage that fine balance of fully preoccupied with one person, uh, and then losing the whole context of the big yagya and the big task, how much to totally involve in one person and how much to step away. uh, that is also, I think, Anthony Bai has this 8 principles. One of the principle he highlights is uh, when to step in and when to step out. When to step in that individual journey, and when to step out, and then look at the collective. Yeah, definitely. So it is also an art where you can find that fine balance. Mhm. Anyone else have any thoughts? One tried anything that resonated from today's Murli, that brought attention that, oh, I should be focusing more on this. Yeah. Anyone? Sridhar Bhai, Pramila Ben, Chandrakala Ben, Taki Ben, Amy Ben. Okay, so let's take few minutes to meditate. Make yourself the next 5 minutes free yourself from pressure of any purusharth. Totally relax and let go. And release any tension or the pressure of what we need to become, what we have to become. As if you're letting go of the string in your hand and let the kite fly and drift easily. Currently, there are too many strings that we are trying to control. So let go of every string. Let your mind become totally relaxed. Relaxing your body, relaxing your mind. Let your mind effortlessly drift into that silence. And allow your heart also to relax. No expectation, no influence on your effort, on your heart either. Just let your heart free. Let it effortlessly drift into that silence. Let it drift into that silence of the soul world. Let your mind and let your heart drift into this eternal awareness. Drift into that experience of eternal silence. That which is always there, always will be. And give enough time and space for your mind and heart to keep drifting in this eternal awareness. How it feels. And just allow whatever shift that is happening because of holding on to this eternal awareness. Consciously hold this eternal awareness and let your mind and heart transform whatever form it wants to transform. And you'll feel something different. Allow this transformation. And engage your attention on that shifting state, shifting sense of self. And stay in that experience, stay in that transformed state of self. And try to retain that transformed eternal sense of self for the rest of the day. And still a couple of minutes here and there to restore that eternal awareness for the rest of the day. Om Shanti Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you to Baba. Thank you, Harshabai. Thank you, Divine Family. See you tomorrow at 5 a.m. Until then, have a beautiful day.